These are Forcefins. In a world where manufacturers are trying to outdo each other with the shapes of their fins, creating all sorts of weird and wonderful ones, these definitely stand out. What with their bizarre shape, these very long pointy wings, this serious cutout, and of course the most important distinctive feature, the fact that the foot pocket is incredibly open. If you then consider that these were released some 35 years ago, they created a massive stir in the diving industry, and they were very divisive fins. There were those that said that these things were the best things since sliced bread, and those that, well, I guess in modern terms, would call them the Crocs of the fin world. Except that Crocs only were released some 25 years ago, so maybe Crocs are the Forcefins of the shoe world? Any which way, I've always wanted to try some of these out because they are just so different, so distinct. So when the opportunity presented itself, I immediately got the pair and I went for a dive. Now, my view on these ones was that being a short, somewhat flexible, well, extremely flexible fin, is that it would be all about horsepower and no torque. But obviously only a dive would be able to reveal that. These are actually Forcefin Pros, and the difference compared to the original ones is that they are made of a stiffer material, so they don't bend quite as much, and they were aimed more at the technical diving market. In fact, these ones are extra larges, which are a bit large for me, even though I wear booties with socks underneath, and the previous owner who used to actually use them with his dry suit, where obviously booties are a bit bigger. I decided to take along my Cressi Origins because, to be honest, with the foot pocket this big, I was a bit worried that it might not actually work underwater, and also it allowed me to compare them directly. I decided to also go back to the same spot where I compared my Cressi Aras and my Cressi Origins, simply because it's a very nice open area and there's a piece of wreckage where I can put down my tripod with my GoPro on it in order to do my swims backwards and forwards. So what are the results of that? Well, the amazing thing about these ones is that if you're wearing them, it feels like you're not wearing any fins at all. You move your legs and it's as if there's nothing on them. On the other hand, my sort of feeling that it would be all about horsepower and not torque turned out to be very true. In fact, not even a lot of horsepower and zero torque. So you move your legs and there is forward motion, but it's by no means as much as you would expect it to be. So it's very much more about a leisurely swim on a reef or something like that, in which case you're spending very little effort. Yes, you're moving your legs a lot, but you're spending relatively little effort. So in that respect, they're actually quite nice. At least that's what I thought underwater. Looking at the videos, I seem to cover the same amount of distance in the same time as I do with the Origins. I just don't like the way the Forcefins do this, and I suspect they would easily be overwhelmed by surge or current. What I did find though, and this is something you can see here, is that if we compare the actual width of the blades, you can see that the Forcefin is significantly wider, and the result is that I found myself constantly clipping the tips, and I had to consciously move my legs further apart. Now, in terms of the power delivery, I am aware that with these fins being actually too large for me, that there was a bit of play on my foot, and that every time I would transition from the one to the other phase, that my foot would move a little bit, and obviously that means that the power transmission wasn't as effective as it could be. But even so, the bottom line simply is that these fins bend a lot, and while they are supposed to release their energy as they bend back, I did not feel that they were giving me a lot of forward propulsion. All in all, I'm actually very happy that I finally, after all these years, managed to try a pair of these. And I would really like to try a pair that suits my foot size a bit better, but it's not really a fin that I would actually seek out, let alone actually buy. They're just not made for my style of diving, for the dive conditions that I dive in. An interesting concept, but I must admit I'm in the camp that says that these are, well, fancy looking Crocs. Thank you for watching.